Maya walked into the school building with her shoulders straight and her backpack snug against her back. The morning air still felt cool on her skin, and the hallway lights glowed softly as if the building was just waking up. She moved with quiet steps, careful and calm, trying not to draw attention. She knew most people here by face, but she did not belong to any group. At lunch, she often sat by the window. In the library, she knew the exact shelf where her favorite art books lived. In 18th class, she spoke only when the teacher called on her by name. She was a thoughtful black girl with big, curious eyes and steady hands that loved to draw. People around her seemed to move in bright circles of laughter, but she stayed on the outside, watching and listening and learning. In homeroom, the teacher called the roll. "Maya Thompson?" the teacher said. Maya raised her hand. Her voice was soft but clear. A pair of students near the back leaned in to whisper. Maya didn't need to know the words. She had learned long ago that whispers follow anyone who is quiet and different. The teacher handed out a short reading and asked a question about the theme. Maya's hand went up again, a slow, careful rise, as if she were testing the air. When the teacher nodded, Maya explained what she saw in the paragraph. A person trying to find their place, a small voice competing with noise, hope like a candle in a windy room. The teacher smiled and said, "Exactly right." A couple of students made a short sound, something like a laugh, but the sound faded when Maya kept her eyes on the page. She had learned that many sounds go away if you do not feed them. The first bell rang for the next class. Maya gathered her pencils and her little sketchbook, the one with a bent corner and pages that smelled faintly like paper and rain. She liked simple drawings, hands holding a cup, a hallway with light on the floor, a shoe tipped on its side. They looked plain at first, but if you stared for a while, you could feel something gentle and true inside them. At her locker, she entered her combination slowly, listening to the clicks like tiny footsteps. She pulled out a workbook. Someone passed behind her with a quick oops and brushed her shoulder. The touch was light but intentional. She didn't turn around. She just closed her locker and walked to English. At lunch, she chose the table by the long window, the one that looked out onto the small courtyard with a tree that held its green leaves like a secret. She unwrapped a sandwich and opened her sketchbook. Across the room, lively chatter rose and fell like the tide. A few students looked over. One nudged another. Maya felt the gaze but did not look up. She drew the tree outside, the way its small leaves pressed together, the way the sunlight made soft shapes on the ground. She drew the brick wall and the shadow of a bench. She added a tiny person on the bench, just a shape, not a face, because sometimes she liked to place a brave figure in quiet places and imagine what they were thinking. When she closed the sketchbook, she felt calmer. It was like breathing out a long breath she had been holding since morning. The library was her favorite stop after lunch. The librarian, Ms. Green, had silver hair gathered in a clip and a voice, like warm tea. "Back again, Maya?" she would say. Maya nodded and smiled. Ms. Green never asked many questions. She simply showed her the new arrivals, a book on watercolor basics, a collection of essays on finding courage in everyday life, and a thin volume about growing confidence. "This one is short but strong," Ms. Green said, tapping the last book. Maya checked it out and slipped it into her bag. "Remember," Ms. Green added gently, "quiet does not mean weak. Quiet often means focused." Maya carried those words with her like a small stone in her pocket, something to hold when her hands felt empty. On the notice board outside the library, a flyer caught her eye. "Spring Arts Showcase. All students welcome." It invited paintings, drawings, poems, or short films. A line at the bottom read, "Your story matters." Maya stood there for a moment, hearing the cafeteria noise far away, the hallway footsteps, the buzz of a light. Her heart did a small, hopeful jump. She knew she could draw a series about the school's quiet places. She imagined a set of sketches: the empty stairwell at 7 a.m., the laundry of sunlight in the hallway, a lone book on a table, a shoe with an untied lace, a locker with a small dent that looked like a dimple. The idea felt right, like a coat that fit. In science class, the teacher announced group work. Desks slid around, chairs scraped, and hands reached out to call friends by name. Maya stood still for a moment, waiting to see which group had a space. As always, the groups closed quickly like doors. The teacher noticed and said kindly, "Maya, you can pair with me for the demonstration." She nodded, grateful but also a little tired of being the last one left. During the experiment, she measured carefully, recorded results with neat handwriting, and asked a simple, smart question that made the teacher pause thoughtfully before answering. When the bell rang, the teacher said, "Excellent focus," and placed a small star sticker on Maya's lab sheet. It was a small thing, but it lit a corner of her heart. After school, the hallway was a river of movement again. Maya walked against the stream, keeping close to the lockers. She saw a boy drop his schedule on the floor as he rushed toward the bus. It skated across the linoleum and stopped near her shoe. She picked it up, jogged a few steps, and handed it to him. His cheeks flushed. "Thanks," he said, surprised and relieved. "No problem," she replied, and then she was gone, like a soft breeze. She did not expect anything from people. When kindness arrived by accident, she accepted it, with a quiet smile, and moved on. At home, the small apartment smelled faintly of cinnamon and soap. Her grandmother stirred a pot on the stove and hummed a tune that had no words but many memories. "How was your day, Star?" her grandmother asked, using the nickname she had given Maya when she was little. "Good," Maya said, and she told her about the science sticker and the arts showcase flyer. Her grandmother's eyes brightened. "Your hands speak clearly on paper," she said. "Let them talk." Then she added the words she always added, words she had told Maya since childhood. "When life feels tight, breathe and make your space. There is always a little space to be found." Maya loved that sentence. It made crowded rooms feel bigger. Later, in her room, she opened her sketchbook and drew her locker. She drew the numbers on the dial, the curve of the handle, the little vents. Then she drew a second version, almost the same, but this time she added a tiny star sticker near the lock. Not a real sticker, just a drawn one. It made the whole drawing feel less cold. She labeled the page, "Practice Lockers," and tucked a paperclip onto the top edge. She liked to keep a few small, useful things in her bag: an extra hairpin, a paperclip, a pencil with a sharp point, because small tools could turn problems into puzzles, and puzzles could be solved. The next morning, she arrived earlier than usual. The hallway was quiet, and the janitor was rolling a cart of cleaning supplies. He gave a friendly nod. Maya smiled back. She went to the notice board and read the arts showcase flyer again. A fresh pen hung from a string under a sign-up sheet. She wrote her name, small but clear: Maya Thompson, drawing. The strings. Inside her chest felt less tangled. She stood there a moment, thinking about her project. Quiet places of Lincoln High. She would draw without faces, just light and shape. She would show how silence could be strong. Between classes, she felt the small currents that moved through the school, like tiny storms of gossip and jokes that rose and fell quickly. A pair of students walked past her and looked at her sketchbook, then at each other. They didn't say anything, but their eyes spoke a language she knew well. Maya kept walking. She had learned a method from the book Ms. Green recommended: count 4 steps in, 4 steps out, and think of a safe place while doing it. Her safe place was a sunlit corner of the library where dust floated like small planets. She breathed. This way at her locker. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The dial turned to each number with a soft click. In art class, the teacher introduced a warm-up. Draw a small object from 3 angles. Maya chose her paperclip. She drew it from the side, from above, and at a diagonal. It was just a paperclip, but in her hands it looked like a tiny piece of architecture. A line bending back on itself, strong and flexible at the same time. The teacher paused at Maya's desk and said, "You have patient eyes." Maya didn't fully understand the compliment, but the words felt good, like sunlight, reaching the skin after shade. By the time the final bell rang, Maya had moved through her day like a steady river. There were moments that tugged at her, whispers behind her back, small jokes that were not funny, a hand that brushed past her locker handle as if testing it. But nothing had knocked her down. She returned to the notice board and looked at her name again. "Your story matters," the flyer said. She believed it a little more now. She believed it because of the star on her lab sheet, because of the librarian's warm voice, because of the janitor's kind nod, because of her grandmother's faithful advice, because of her own careful drawings of ordinary things that held quiet strength. When she stepped outside, the late afternoon sun colored the concrete a softer gray. She walked home along the same route, past the same tree that seemed to wave its leaves at her. On the corner, a bus hissed and pulled away. She imagined her series of sketches taped to a gallery wall in the stairwell. The next week started with bright sunshine and a cool breeze that slipped through the school's open doors. Maya felt ready. She had packed her sketchbook, 2 sharpened pencils, and the thin book Ms. Green had recommended. She had also placed a small paperclip on the front page, like a quiet reminder that even small things can be useful. As she moved down the hallway, the usual wave of noise flowed around her. Groups formed and reformed. Jokes bounced like rubber balls. She walked with steady steps, keeping her focus on the day's plan. Classes, lunch by the window, a quick visit to the library, and then time after school to start her quiet places of Lincoln High drawings in the stairwell near the auditorium. In homeroom, she felt a few eyes on her as she sat. It was like feeling a draft from a window that wasn't fully closed. She did not turn to look. The teacher went over announcements, including a reminder about the Spring Arts Showcase. "You still have 2 weeks to submit work," the teacher said. Maya held that number in her mind like a simple beat. 2 weeks, 2 weeks. She opened her notebook and wrote a tiny checklist. Sketch the stairwell at different times. Sketch the library corner. Sketch the row of lockers with morning light. Add a sign of hope to each picture. She drew a small star next to the last line. When the bell rang, the class shuffled out. Near the door, a girl bumped lightly into Maya's shoulder and said, "Sorry," with a quick smile that did not reach her eyes. Another student let out a quiet laugh, the kind that tries to hide inside a cough. Maya kept walking. In the hallway, a boy raised his phone as if taking a picture of the poster behind Maya, but his camera pointed lower. Maya did not stop. She breathed in for 4 steps and out for 4 steps and kept her eyes on her locker. She turned the dial, felt each click, opened the door, and placed her homeroom notebook on the top shelf. Her sunrise photo looked back at her with calm color. She felt better. In English, the class discussed a short story about kindness in a crowded city. The teacher asked how kindness can spread. Maya lifted her hand. "Small actions can grow," she said. "Like when someone holds a door and then another person smiles at a stranger. It's like passing light along." The teacher nodded. A few students looked at Maya, then down at their desks, as if surprised she had said something they agreed with. When class ended, a quiet boy from the back row caught up to Maya near the door. "I liked what you said," he mumbled, then hurried off. It was only a few words, but they warmed her like a sun patch through a window. At lunch, Maya took her usual seat by the long window. She unwrapped her sandwich and opened her sketchbook. Today, she wanted to practice drawing shadows. The courtyard tree outside was bright, so the shadow of its trunk lay dark across the bricks. She let her pencil dance in light strokes. While she drew, a group at a nearby table got louder. One of them said, "Look," in a tone that suggested a show was starting. There was a soft scrape on the floor behind Maya, then a faint splash. She turned. A small puddle of water had appeared near her chair. It was not an accident. The puddle looked placed, like someone had poured it from a bottle and stepped back. Maya looked around. No one made eye contact. She could have called a monitor. She could have waited. Instead, she folded her napkin and used it to blot the worst of the spill. Then she pushed her chair in a little, shifted her bag, and moved to the other side of the table. She said nothing. She kept drawing. A few heads turned, expecting a scene. There was no scene. The group's laughter thinned and then stopped. The tree's shadow stayed where it was, calm and still, as Maya added gentle hatching to describe the cooler tone under the bench. She took her tray back early and walked to the library. Ms. Green looked up and smiled. "You're carrying your calm with you," she said. "I'm trying," Maya replied. Ms. Green slid a new booklet across the desk. "This is about bystanders becoming helpers," she said. "Very short, very practical." Maya read the first page right there, words soft as water. Notice, name the problem, get help, offer your presence. She tucked the booklet away. She was not sure she was ready to act like that, but she liked knowing there was a way. On the notice board, the sign-up sheet had more names now. Someone had written spoken word poem. Someone else, photography, street corners. Maya smiled at the variety. On the bottom edge of the paper, a pen line had been drawn around her name as if someone had circled it. She traced the circle with her eyes. It was slightly messy, almost careless. It was probably nothing. Still, her heartbeat gave a soft knock. She took a slow breath and reminded herself, 2 weeks. Draw the quiet places. Pass the light along. During science, the teacher announced another round of group work. This time, Maya was assigned to a table with 3 classmates, a friendly girl from orchestra, a boy who loved math, and a tall student with a popular jacket and confident walk. The instructions were simple. Build a small bridge from paper and tape, and then test how many paper clips it could hold. The group got to work. The tall student took the tape and began making long strips. The math lover measured and cut. Maya folded paper into a beam and suggested a second beam underneath. "Good idea," the orchestra girl said. They built quietly, for a few minutes. The bridge looked strong. As they finished, the tall student glanced at Maya's pencil case. "You draw a lot, right?" he asked lightly. Maya nodded. He smiled in a way that could be friendly or not. "Maybe you can draw the victory picture when our bridge holds the most clips," he said. The tone was open, but something in his eyes made Maya feel watched. The testing began. The bridges were lined up. The teacher counted paper clips on each one. Theirs held many, but not the most. The tall student joked, "Next time we put our artist in charge sooner," and laughed. It sounded like praise, but the orchestra girl looked down, and the math lover pressed his lips together. Maya set her pencil case back in her bag and said nothing. After school, Maya headed toward the stairwell by the auditorium to start her sketch. The late sun made long lines on the steps. She sat on the 3rd step, took out her sketchbook, and began. A soft echo lived in the stairwell. A door opened somewhere above and closed again. The light moved a little with a cloud. She drew the handrail, the scuffed edge of a step, the shadow of the railing on the wall like a second ladder. She felt safe here. These were the kinds of places that listened. Halfway through the drawing, two students appeared at the top of the stairs. They were from the group that sat near her at lunch. "Hey!" one called down in a cheerful tone. "Do you know where Ms. Lee's classroom is? We think we got lost." Maya stood and pointed down the hall. "Take a right, then left at the vending machines," she said. "Thanks," the student replied with a smile that flashed and faded. As they passed, one of them looked at her sketch. "You're good," she said. It was said like a compliment, but it felt like a test. When Maya left the stairwell and walked back toward the main hall, she noticed 3 students gathered near her locker row, 2 she knew by face, and the tall student from science. They were talking low, then laughing under their breath. The tall student looked up and noticed Maya noticing. He lifted his hand in a casual wave. Maya nodded and turned toward the library. She did not want to give her attention to whispers. She wanted to give it to the work she loved. At home, her grandmother stirred a pot and asked about her day. Maya shared small pieces: the paper bridge, the stairwell drawing, the booklet about helpers, the circled name on the sign-up sheet. Her grandmother listened carefully. "Sometimes people circle a name because they admire it," she said. "Sometimes because they want to test it. Either way, keep your center, keep your plans." Then she handed Maya a tiny roll of painter's tape. "For your sketches," she said, "to hold the corners steady so the paper doesn't slide." Maya pressed the tape lightly against a sketch page. It held without hurting the paper. She smiled. "Small things help," she said. "Very much," her grandmother replied. The next day, the tide rose. In the morning, someone had taped a fake reserved sign on Maya's window seat at lunch. It was written in fancy letters, as if for a party. She stood for a second, then carefully removed the tape and put the paper in the recycling bin. She sat down and ate. She drew. The tree's leaves trembled in the wind. A pair of students at another table stared, but not unkindly. One lifted a hand in a small wave. Maya lifted her pencil in return. The air felt mixed, like sun and cloud. Together. Between classes, the tall student and 2 others appeared again near her locker. "Your art is famous now," one said with a soft grin. "We saw your name on the sign-up sheet." Maya said, "I'm excited to share." The tall student leaned a shoulder against the locker next to hers, friendly and close. "We're making a video for the showcase," he said. "Kind of a surprise project. We thought you might want to be in it." His tone was smooth, but a quick look passed between the 2 students beside him like a small spark. Maya felt her shoulders tighten. She eased them down. "I like drawing more than videos," she said. "But thanks." He shrugged. "No problem," he said. "Maybe you'll change your mind." Then he stepped back and added, "We're doing a practice run after last bell near this hallway. You'll see us." He said it like a simple note, like telling someone when the bus comes. They walked away, talking low and smiling in a way that did not feel gentle. Maya breathed in and out and reached for her math. Maya did not move right away. She stood a few steps from the open locker and held her sketchbook close. The tall student smiled like it was a friendly game. The phone camera watched with a blank eye. The 2 other students stood just wide enough to guide her closer without touching her. The hallway felt like a held breath. Maya heard her grandmother's words inside her chest: "Breathe and make your space." So she made a small space. She shifted 1 foot back, set her shoulders, and spoke in a calm voice. "I'm going to the library," she said. "I have work to do." Her voice was steady. It surprised even her. The tall student's smile flickered. "Just 30 seconds, he said. "It's for our project, real life at school. You stand by the locker, we explain a point, then we laugh. It's harmless." Maya let the word drift past her like a leaf in water. She was not a leaf. She was a person. She was allowed to choose. "No, thank you," she said. She stepped to the side to walk around them. One of the students moved, half a step at the same time. It was small, like a door closing slowly. "Come on," he murmured with a friendly tone that did not feel friendly. "Just a quick clip." Maya took a breath in and counted 4 heartbeats. She reached for the booklet in her mind. Notice. Name the problem. Get help. Offer your presence. "I don't want to be in your video," she said clearly. "Please move." Her calm voice did something unexpected. It made the air sharp. The tall student laughed a little, but it was thinner now. "Relax," he said. "It's a joke." Then he leaned, quick as a cat, and tapped the locker door. It swung toward Maya's shoulder. She shifted back to avoid it, but the other student had already nudged her arm with a light push that pretended to be an accident. It was not hard. It was not a shove, but it was enough to put her slightly off balance. Her back brushed the cool metal. The door came forward, and there was a click. The sound was small. It could have been the sound of a pen cap, but it was the sound of a lock sliding into place. Maya's breath stopped. For 1 second, the world turned into a tiny room with a metal smell. It was dim inside. The vents in the door let in thin strips of light, the way blinds draw lines across a floor. There was not much space. Her bag hung outside on the hook. Her phone was in the bag. Her sketchbook was inside with her, held to her chest. She heard a light laugh outside, the kind that tries to say, "This is nothing." The phone camera made a faint digital hum. She stood still. The first feeling was surprise. The second was fear that came like a fast wind. She did not push against the door. She did not pound. She did not feed the wind. She closed her eyes for one slow count and pictured her safe place. The library corner, with dust drifting like small planets. She made her breath go in and out in even steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The wind inside her eased. Through the vents, she could see slices of the hallway. Shoes, the edge of a backpack, the tall student's jacket. She could hear their low voices. "Is it locked?" "Yeah. Got it?" "Just keep filming." Maya spoke in a clear, even tone. "I am locked in here," she said. "Please open the door. This is not safe." Her voice did not shake. It traveled through the vents like a straight line. The students outside got quiet for a second, as if they had not expected her to speak like that. Then one made a small laugh, nervous and high. "We'll open it," he said. "Just wait. We're explaining the scene." Maya held the booklet steps in her mind again. Notice, name the problem, get help, offer your presence. She had named the problem. She needed help if the lock did not open. But she also had something else. The small paperclip that held her sketchbook page. She slid her fingers along the sketchbook cover until she felt the cool bend of the paperclip. Her art teacher had told her she had patient eyes. Patient eyes were useful in small spaces. She bent the paperclip open with careful hands, turning it into a thin tool. Then she felt along the inside edge of the locker door. There was a narrow gap where the latch met the frame. She had noticed it in drawings before, the way the thin metal tongue slid into a notch. She could not see it now, but she could feel. She pressed the paperclip into the gap. The metal clicked against metal. She exhaled slowly and tried again, angling the clip like a key for a keyhole you cannot see. The hallway outside sounded a little different now. Footsteps were coming from far away, a slow, even rhythm. A teacher? A monitor? The tall student spoke in a cheerful voice aimed at the camera. "Sometimes school puts us in boxes," he said, trying to sound wise. "Sometimes we have to—" Maya's paperclip found an edge. It slid over something smooth. She pressed gently. Nothing. She lifted, then pressed again with the smallest change in angle. A tiny, springy feeling answered. Her finger. She pressed a little more, patient and gentle. Click. The latch moved. Not fully, but enough that the door loosened, like a jar lid that turns after refusing for a long time. Maya paused, listening. The footsteps were closer now. She heard a familiar soft push of a cartwheel. The janitor. At the same time, she heard the tall student whisper, "If a teacher comes, just say we're doing a project." Maya did not wait for anyone to rescue her. She pressed the paperclip again, a steady pressure at the right angle, and the small spring inside gave way. The lock tongue slipped back. The door fell open by a hand's width, then swung all the way. Cool air swept in, light spilled across her shoes. She stepped out as if stepping through a curtain, holding her sketchbook. She did not stumble. She did not rush. She stood up straight in the hallway. The tall student's face changed like a quick shadow passing over a sunny wall. His mouth opened and then shut. The phone camera pointed at her, then wavered, then dropped a little. The two other students looked at each other with wide eyes. No one had planned for that. Maya looked at the camera lens. "Please delete that," she said in the same calm voice. "This is not right." The janitor's cart turned the corner. He saw Maya, the open locker, the group with the phone, and he did not need more details. He parked the cart, not hurried, just firm. "Everything okay here?" he asked in a steady voice that made the hallway feel safe again. Maya nodded once. "I would like to go to the office," she said. The janitor's eyes softened. "I can walk with you," he said. He looked at the three students. "You three, wait here." The tall student tried a light laugh. "It was just a—" The janitor raised a hand gently. "Wait here," he repeated, not loud, but final. His tone was like a door closing softly and completely. As Maya and the janitor walked, Ms. Green appeared from the library doorway, called by the shift in air the way birds sense rain. She saw Maya's face, then the open locker, then the phone, in a lowered hand. She did not ask a dozen questions. She simply stepped to Maya's side. "I'm here," she said, quiet and sure. "I'm okay," Maya answered. She meant it. She felt shaken in her knees, but her center was steady, like a tree trunk after wind. She noticed the paperclip still in her hand and slipped it onto her sketchbook again. The tiny metal shape looked ordinary and strong. Small things help her, grandmother had said. Very much. They reached the office. The secretary looked up, concerned. The janitor gave a short, clear explanation without adding extra words. "Student was locked in a locker by other students," he said. "She got out herself. I asked them to wait." Ms. Green added, "There may be a video." The secretary's face grew firm. "Sit here," she told Maya kindly. "You did the right thing by coming." As Maya sat, the quiet boy from English passed the office window, saw her, and hesitated. He lifted a hand like he wanted to help, but wasn't sure. "How?" Maya opened her palm. Not a wave, just a small sign to say she was okay. He nodded, then moved on, faster than before. The sign had traveled. "I am okay. Help is here." The vice principal came out with calm steps. She listened to the janitor's short report, then looked at Maya. "Would you like water?" she asked. Maya nodded. The cup was cool in her hand. The vice principal's voice stayed even. "Do you want to tell me what happened, or would you like a few minutes first?" "I can tell you," Maya said. She told it simply. She did not add sharp edges. She used her careful words. She said there was an open locker, a request to be in a video, her clear no, the door closing, the click, the calm breathing, the paperclip, the latch. She said she asked for the video to be deleted. She said she walked with the janitor to the office. The vice principal took notes with a pen that did not scratch, just moved. "Thank you," she said. "You were very composed?" She turned to Ms. Green. "Could you stay with her a while?" Ms. Green said yes. The vice principal asked the janitor to bring the 3 students to the office. He nodded and left with the slow, steady roll of his cart. While they waited, Ms. Green sat beside Maya and did not fill the room with words. After a moment, she reached into her cardigan pocket and took out a small square of paper. On it was a simple sentence in neat writing: "Quiet is not empty. Quiet is full of listening." "I found this quote the other day," Ms. Green said. "It made me think of your drawings." Maya smiled with surprise. "I wrote that in my notebook," she said softly. Ms. Green's eyes warmed. "Ah," she said. "Then we've met at the same idea from different doors." The 3 students arrived with the janitor. They were quieter now. The phone rested in a pocket. The vice principal invited them into her office. The door closed. Time moved like slow honey. Maya and Ms. Green sat together. The secretary answered a phone call in a low voice. The clock Maya thought of the ha. The day after the office meeting felt different the moment Maya walked into school. The hallway did not seem louder or quieter. It simply felt aware, like a room where someone had opened a window and new air had moved in. A few students looked up as she passed. Some looked away quickly, not sure what to say. Others gave small nods that said, "We saw, we know." Maya did not change her pace. She kept her steady walk and her careful breath. She had a plan for the morning: draw the locker row with the first light and do it with a helper by her side. The orchestra girl met her near the main doors, violin case on one shoulder and a friendly smile on her face. "Good morning," she said softly. "Good morning," Maya replied. They walked together without many words. They reached the locker row before the thick crowd arrived. The lights were still warming up. A pale stripe of sunlight had slipped through a high window and laid itself on the floor like a ribbon. Maya taped the corners of her paper to the page so it would not slide. The orchestra girl stood nearby, keeping an easy watch and looking at the light with interest. "It's beautiful," she said. "It looks like music looks before the sound begins." Maya smiled at that. She set her pencil down and drew the long pattern of locker vents, the straight line of the floor, the soft brightness where the sun touched the metal. She did not avoid the locker that had been opened yesterday. She drew that one too, exactly as it was, ordinary and quiet. She did not add drama. She just added light. A minute later, the quiet boy from English walked by on his way to class, saw them, and paused. "Do you need a third person?" he asked, shy but brave. "We're okay," Maya said. "But thank you." He nodded and stood at the end of the row anyway, as if acting like a hallway lamp that made things clearer. By the time the first bell rang, Maya had a clean, simple drawing of the locker row. She placed a small star in the corner of the page, her mark of hope, and dated it. The orchestra girl glanced at the drawing and gave a small clap with her fingertips. "You keep the space gentle," she said. "That's rare." Maya packed up and thanked her. The boy lifted a hand and hurried off. The hall filled, but the morning felt balanced. In homeroom, an announcement came over the speakers from the vice principal. The voice was calm and exact. "Good morning, everyone. Today we are rolling out a set of reminders and supports for kindness and safety. You will see new posters in the halls about how to be a helper if you notice unkind behavior. You will also see staff wearing badges that say, 'I'm safe to ask.' Please know our school takes student care seriously. If you ever feel unsure, speak up. Your voice matters." The room listened. A few students glanced at Maya, then at their notebooks. The teacher met Maya's eyes for a second and gave a small, steady nod that said, "We've got you." Between classes, Maya noticed new signs on bulletin boards. Notice, name, get help, stay with. The steps from Ms. Green's booklet had become school language now, printed in bright letters with simple drawings. The janitor rolled by with his cart and a kind smile that reached his eyes. "Morning," he said gently. "Morning," she answered. She felt the cart as a moving anchor in a busy sea. Around lunchtime, word traveled that the vice principal would hold small group circles in the counseling room. Students could join to talk about what it means to keep each other safe. The invitation was not forced. It was an open door. The orchestra girl said she wanted to go. The quiet boy said he would try. Maya felt her heart give a careful tap. She did not want to relive yesterday, but she did want to see what a good circle felt like. She signed up for the after-lunch session. Before the circle, she still sat by the window and drew. No fake, reserved sign waited today. The table was empty. She unwrapped her sandwich and opened her sketchbook to plan the rest of her Quiet Places series. She listed library corner in afternoon, stairwell again when clouds shift, auditorium seats from the very back, and the lost and found shelf with the single glove. She wanted each drawing to show a small truth, not a loud moment. A pair of students walked by and slowed down to watch her pencil. One of them said, "You're the one who got out of the locker, right?" The tone was not cruel. It was curious and a little amazed. Maya looked up. "I opened the door," she said simply. The student nodded as if that answer gave them a new shape to carry. "Cool," the student said, and they moved on. The circle after lunch took place in a small room with chairs arranged in a round. The vice principal sat with a counselor and 5 students, Maya, the orchestra girl, the quiet boy, and 2 others from different grades. There were no speeches. There was a talking piece, a smooth stone. When you held the stone, you spoke. When you did not hold it, you listened. The vice principal explained the purpose, to practice how a school can hold each person with respect. The stone moved from hand to hand. Each person shared one time they felt alone at school and one thing someone did that helped. The orchestra. Girl said once she played a solo with a shaking hand, and a custodian had given her a cup of water and a steady look, and it helped. The quiet boy said he had lost his bus card, and a 7th grader he did not know had pointed to it on the floor and returned it. Maya said she had found courage in a paperclip and in people who stood by her without many words. The room felt careful and real. The counselor drew a tiny map on the board of how care can move through a building like water in a network of small streams. It was not a big, dramatic moment. It was strong in a soft way. When the circle ended, the vice principal thanked everyone and said, "There will be consequences for anyone who harms another student. But there will also be learning. We are not only a place of rules. We are a place of growth." The words sat well in the air. That afternoon, Ms. Green found Maya in the library and handed her a small blank label. "For your showcase pieces," she said. "Titles matter." Maya wrote titles in small, neat letters. For the stairwell, Steps Listening. For the library corner, Light at 4. For the locker row, Morning Metal, Open Light. She did not write about fear. She wrote about light, space, and choice. As the days moved forward, the tall student and his 2 friends kept a low profile. They did not pass near Maya's locker. They did not make jokes. One morning, the tall student stood by the office door with a stack of folded papers. He was handing out the new helper guides, a 1-page sheet that told students how to act when they saw something wrong. He did not look up, but his hand moved with care. Maya saw him from a distance and felt a complicated feeling rise, part caution, part relief. She did not change direction. She walked to class. She carried her calm and her purpose. 2 days before the showcase, the gym turned into a gallery. Teachers and students set up easels and tables. The janitor hung clips from a wire for photographs. Ms. Green rolled in a cart of small stands for labels. The art teacher arranged spotlights so each piece would have a gentle glow. Maya arrived with her folder of drawings, her labels, and her small roll of painter's tape. The orchestra girl came to help. The quiet boy brought a box of clear sleeves. They worked in a simple flow as if they had done this many times. Maya placed her drawings in a row with space between them, like open breaths. She put the labels below. She added one small card with the words she loved. Quiet is not empty. Quiet is full of listening. The art teacher walked over and stood for a long time with her arms folded and her head slightly tilted. "You built a map of safety," she said. "It shows people where to stand when they need steadiness." The compliment surprised Maya, but it felt true. She thought, not for the first time, that drawings can sometimes be a kind of hand to hold. Just then, the vice principal arrived with a clipboard and a warm face. "We plan to begin tomorrow at noon," she said. "Would you, Maya, be willing to say a few words about your work? Only if you want to." The request made Maya's shoulders lift for a second, then settle. Public speaking was not her favorite thing, but the words she needed to say were simple. She nodded. "I can do that," she said. The next morning, the showcase opened. Students and staff moved from piece to piece. The gym buzzed but softly like a hive with calm bees. When it was time for remarks, the vice principal stepped to a small microphone. She welcomed everyone and spoke about the courage it takes to create anything. Then she invited a few students to share about their work. A poet read a gentle piece about a bus stop. A photographer showed a picture of a cracked sidewalk where a flower grew through the line. Then the vice principal said Maya's name. Maya walked to the microphone with her sketchbook in her hands. She could feel her heart, but it did not pound with fear. It beat like a steady drum. She looked at the drawings behind her and then at the crowd. She did not make big gestures. She simply spoke in simple words. "I like quiet places," she said. "I draw them because they hold people when the day is loud. This is our school, in calm light. These are steps and corners and rows that listen. I hope, when you look at them, you feel your own breath slow down a little. If you ever feel squeezed by a moment, I hope you remember that there is space here, and there are people who can stand with you." She held up her sketchbook and showed a small drawing of the paperclip. A murmur moved through the crowd, warm and soft. "Small things help," she said. "Sometimes that is a paperclip. Sometimes it is a person. Sometimes it is a kind rule. Thank you to everyone who helped me." The morning after the showcase, Maya woke with a clear mind and a warm feeling in her chest. The sky outside her window looked soft and bright, like a clean page. She packed her bag with careful hands, textbooks, sketchbook, pencil case, the helper guide, and the small paperclip resting like a quiet friend on the front page. Her grandmother handed her a folded note and said, "For your helpers." Inside were simple thank you cards, blank and waiting for her words. Maya hugged her gently and walked to school with steady steps. At the front doors, the building felt welcoming. The new posters on the walls were still fresh. The words were simple: notice, name, get help, stay with. Staff wore small badges that said, "I'm safe to ask." Students moved a little differently, too. They still laughed and told stories, but the air held more care, like someone had added a soft cushion under the usual noise. Maya went straight to the library to say good morning to Ms. Green and to choose a place for the small, kind sign she wanted to add. Ms. Green smiled as always. "You shined yesterday," she said softly, "like a lamp in a quiet room." Maya smiled back. "I want to put one sign in the building," she said. "It should be small and kind, not loud. Just true." Ms. Green nodded. Where do you imagine it? Maya looked around the library and then out the door toward the long hallway. She pictured students walking, the light on the floor, the row of lockers, the corner near the counseling room where people sometimes waited and breathed. Maybe by the counseling room, she said. At eye level, easy to see but not too big. They walked together to that corner. The wall there was simple and clean. Maya took out a small card she had prepared the night before. The words were neat. Breathe and make your space. At the bottom, she had drawn a tiny paper clip, shaped like a smile. Ms. Green checked the placement with careful eyes. Yes, she said. This belongs here. They used a small piece of painter's tape so the card could be removed or moved later if needed. It settled on the wall like a calm hand. Maya stepped back and looked at it. It was simple. It felt right. In homeroom, the teacher congratulated the art students. You showed us who we are at our best, she said. A few classmates turned to Maya with warm faces. One said, My favorite was your stairwell drawing. It made me feel like I could stand there and hear myself think. Another said, The locker row looked peaceful. I didn't know it could look like that. The teacher then announced that the school would start a peer helper program. Students could sign up to learn how to support others in small, real ways. The quiet boy from English raised his hand and asked, Can we also learn how to help without making a big scene? The teacher smiled. Yes, she said. Helping can be gentle. We'll practice that. At lunch, Maya settled by the window as usual. The tree outside made leaf shadows on the ground like little dances. As she ate and sketched, a younger student hovered nearby holding a tray and looking unsure. You can sit with me, Maya said, pointing to the chair across from her. The student, a 7th grader with bright eyes and nervous hands, sat down and smiled with relief. I liked your paperclip drawing, the student said. It made me feel brave. Maya's heart lifted. I'm glad, she said. The younger student whispered, Sometimes the hallway feels too big. Maya nodded. I know that feeling. When it happens, count your steps and think of a safe place. It helps. They ate in a comfortable quiet. Then a small moment came. That tested the room. A student at a different table looked over and made a face at the 7th grader, then pointed and whispered to a friend. The friend giggled, but softly, like they were not sure anymore. Maya noticed. She didn't ignore it. She used the guide in her mind. She turned toward the 7th grader first. Do you want to move to the library after lunch? She asked, calmly. It's quieter there. The 7th grader nodded, grateful. Then Maya lifted her hand and gave a small wave to the 2 students across the room. They looked surprised and looked down. It was not a harsh moment. It was a gentle adjustment. The air settled. Lunch went on. After lunch, the peer helper sign-up sheet appeared on the notice board. Names began to fill the lines. The orchestra girl signed first, her writing light and musical. The quiet boy signed next. Maya added her name in her neat small letters. A moment later, the tall student stood near the board with a hesitant face. He looked at the sheet, took a breath, and wrote his name too. He did not look around to see who was watching. He just wrote. When he stepped back, his eyes met Maya's from across the hall. He gave a small nod. Not a big apology again, not a show, just a sign that he would try to do real work. The first peer helper training took place that afternoon in the counseling room. The counselor set out a circle of chairs and a tray of simple snacks. There were no balloons, no big posters, no speeches, just steps and practice. The trainer explained how to stand beside someone, how to speak in a calm voice, how to call for help without making a storm. They practiced small sentences. Are you okay? Can I stay with you? Let's go talk to a teacher. Would you like water? Maya listened and tried each line. The words felt like soft tools. not heavy ones. They did a small role play, a student blocking a locker, a friend filming, a third person unsure. Maya played the helper. She stood at a safe distance and said, "I don't think this is okay. Let's give them space." She looked at the camera and said, "Please stop recording, this is private." She turned to the blocked student and asked, "Do you want to walk with me to the office?" The trainer smiled. "Clear and kind," she said. "That's the balance." When school ended, Maya stayed a little to write her thank you cards. On the first, she wrote to the janitor, "Thank you for making the hallways feel safe. Your steady way helped me breathe." On the second, she wrote to Ms. Green, "Thank you for listening. Your words make a soft place in my day." On the third, she wrote to the vice principal, "Thank you for clear steps and kind rules." On the fourth, she wrote to the orchestra girl, "Thank you for standing near me. Your presence made morning light stronger." On the fifth, she wrote to the quiet boy, "Thank you for being brave in quiet ways." She placed each card in an envelope with a small drawing on the front, a stair, a lamp, a tiny ladder of shadow, a paperclip. As she walked to deliver the cards, she passed the locker row. The afternoon light was different now, cooler and even. A group of students stood clustered near a locker, talking in low voices. One student looked tense, hugging a binder to their chest. Maya slowed down just enough to notice. The tall student was there too, wearing a small peer helper sticker from the training. He noticed the tense student, noticed the group, and stepped in a half step to the side without pushing anyone. Maya watched from a little distance, ready to help if needed. The tall student used the new steps. "Hey," he said to the group in a level tone, "let's give some space here." He turned to the tense student. "Do you want to walk with me to the main office or the library?" The tense student nodded in a small, quick way. The group looked uncertain, then shifted back. The moment unclenched. Maya did not need to take over. She just walked by slowly and caught the tall student's eye. He gave a tiny nod again, this time with respect in it. The guide was working. The building was learning. In the library, Maya handed Ms. Green's card across the desk. Ms. Green opened it and read the neat lines. Her eyes warmed. "I'll keep this near my favorite book," she said. "On hard days, I will read it like tea." Maya laughed softly. She delivered the other cards one by one. Each person received their envelope with surprise and gentle joy. The janitor tucked his card into the pocket near his heart and said, "This pocket just got warmer." The vice principal placed her card on a small stand next to her nameplate. The orchestra girl tapped her note against her violin case and grinned. The quiet boy looked at his drawing of a lamp and said, "I'll try to be this." The next day, the school buzzed about something new. A simple message appeared on the morning announcements. "Students, your voices matter. We will create a wall of thanks by the main stairs. If someone helped you, write a note for the wall. Keep it kind and simple." By lunch, the wall had a handful of notes. By the end of the day, it had dozens. Some were general. "Thanks to the people who stand with others." Some were specific. "Thank you to the person who helped me find my bus card." Maya didn't write about her own story. She wrote one small note and placed it low on the wall where younger students would see it. "Thank you to the helpers who speak softly and clearly." As the week ended, Maya finished the last drawing for her series. It was of the lost and found shelf, a single glove, a scarf, a book without a name, and a water bottle with a dent. She drew them with care, like they were waiting for the right hands to return. Under the drawing, she wrote the title, "Things That Will Be Found." She looked at it a long time. It felt like a promise that people too can be found again, even after hard moments. On Friday afternoon, the school held a small gathering in the gym to close the showcase. People clapped for all the artists, poets, and photographers. A student band played a gentle tune. The vice principal thanked everyone for trying new things, not only in art, but in care. She said, "We are building a school where quiet can be strong." The gym answered with a peaceful hush that felt almost like music. After the gathering, Maya walked alone for a short time. Not